This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Francisco Lindor's 250th career home run's a memorable one. It is a walk-off win for the New York Mets, 5-4 over the St. Louis Cardinals. They now are in the midst of a 2-game winning streak as they have taken the first 2 of this series. Welcome in to the Mets Postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and in the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I am your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And while it wasn't necessarily Cubs Diamondbacks from earlier with their 8th inning barrage of runs, there was some late inning magic tonight on both sides, and it ended with the New York Mets winning in style, a walk-off hit for Francisco Lindor, his 3rd career walk-off home run. And that is where we will start. It is what you will be talking about after this one.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Like I mentioned, career home run number 250 for Francisco Lindor. He was not the only New York Met to take the ball out of the yard. He was not the only Met to contribute in this game. I don't want to call it a complete team effort, but you saw a lot from this game tonight. Mark Vientos, a home run for the 2nd straight day. Juan Soto with an RBI hit. Pete Alonso with a triple. Did anybody have that on their bingo card before the game tonight? A Pete Alonso triple. He had a big hit. Mark Vientos, we mentioned with the home run. Luis Torrens gave the Mets the lead in that 8th inning before Huascar Brazaban hit a little bit of a bump in the road, courtesy of Brandon Donovan. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But the New York Mets have some late inning magic, and boy, did that feel very 2024-esque for the New York Mets to be able to rally. They're down in this game 2-0. They battle back in the 5th. They score a run in the 6th to tie it after giving the lead back up. And then it is Luis Torrens giving them the lead in the 8th. In what was a really interesting 8th inning, the Mets had a couple of moments in this game where they had leadoff guys get on base, and you thought that they were going to be able to do some damage. A leadoff walk from Brett Baty in the 3rd, and then he stole a base to get to scoring position. The Mets didn't do a whole lot with that, actually nothing with that. Alonso, a leadoff walk in the 4th. They did nothing with that opportunity, and thought a lot about how this was going to be a very similar story for the New York Mets. We were going to talk about decent starting pitching from David Peterson, and yet an offense that just isn't just hitting on all cylinders. In the 5th, a leadoff double from Brett Baty. This time they cash in. Tyrone Taylor cashes it in to make it 2-1. That's where Soto ties the game. So they had opportunities all throughout this game. And then in that 8th inning, they had opportunities as well. Baty got on base yet again in the 8th inning. And after he got on base was was it the 8th inning where he got on base and they brought him in? It was for Vientos. Vientos got on base with a single, and they put Acuna in the game for him, and Acuna steals 2nd. And then I don't want to say makes a boneheaded play, but just didn't read it fully, didn't force Arenado at 3rd to make the throw over to first base, tried to beat him to the bag with the way the ball was hit, almost got in there. If he doesn't slide past the base and fall off the base, you have a runner at 3rd. And Nimmo is safe at 1st, and the Mets are cruising. But Nimmo is on first base. A bad pickoff throw by old friend Phil Maton goes behind Contreras over at first base. Nimmo gets to 2nd, and then Luis Torrens knocks in a run to give the Mets the lead. Then we get to the 9th inning, and it is Huascar Brazaban, because the Mets coming into tonight, they were dealing with an empty hand. They did not have Edwin Diaz, who pitched back-to-back days. They did not have A.J. Minter, who pitched back-to-back days. They did not have Reed Garrett, who pitched back-to-back days. So without some of your A relievers, who did they turn to in this game? They turned to Max Kranick. They turned to Ryan Stanek. And then they tried to turn to Huascar Brazaban to be the guy to shut it down. And as mentioned in the comments, these things happen to relievers. You hate to see him give off a leadoff home run. But what a nice response to then strike out some guys right after that. Didn't seem to get rattled by giving up the tying home run in the top of the 9th. And then It was quick. It didn't last long. It was all of 3 pitches in the bottom of the ninth. A ball low, a four-seamer down the heart of the plate for a called strike, and then Lindor deposits one into the upper tank, the upper deck of right field for the walk-off home run. And as mentioned, that was Lindor's only hit in the game. It's the one that counts. We're good with it. His second home run of the season. It was a big one as it gives the Mets a win. They move to 13-7, and they will now go for the series win tomorrow. And listen, I know there are probably some people out there that are upset with Juan Soto still struggling. They're upset with Lindor maybe not off to the hottest start, although this is much better than what we've seen from him in the past. Big-time players show up in big-time moments. Soto had a big hit tonight when the Mets needed one to tie the game. Lindor with the big hit in the bottom of the ninth. That's what these guys are here for. That's what these guys are paid a lot of money to do. And so even on a night when they're maybe not fully locked in, maybe on a night when not everything is clicking, Francisco Lindor is still one of the best players in all of baseball, and he can have a moment like that. And you hear me say this all the time. A win is a win is a win. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how you get the job done. We saw a lot of these victories in 2024 where the Mets rallied late and had these types of heroics in the latter stages of a game. You take them, you put them in your back pocket, and you move on to the next day. Want to talk about a major turning point in this game that involved the Mets bullpen? We have to give out a Player of the Game award. Who could the Player of the Game from this one be? Who could it possibly be? Also want to hear your thoughts as well. So we will get to all of that here on the other side. Scaling your business, it requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you are able to find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives your business flexibility by connecting you with top freelance talent across multiple industries: IT, AI, web development, marketing, you name it. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, Upwork.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. You can get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, Supply House, the reliable way to order products online. They've got an easy-to-use website. It's packed with helpful resources and the latest products that are going to help you get the job done right. Plus, they've got a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands. So you name it, they've got it. You'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. You need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free TradeMaster program has exclusive perks. You got a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. They have thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Back here on the Mets Postcast on the Locked On Mets podcast feed and on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. Jonathan, shout out to you in the YouTube live chat. Chris, somehow we find ways to win. That's right. It's the name of the game. That's what allows you to be there in September. That's what allows you to be there in October. And while if we get to October, there'll probably be some nerves and some anxiety during the postseason. If last year was any indication, it does give us a little comfort to know that when this stuff gets stressful, when the anxiety builds and these moments, these pressure-packed moments show up, the Mets are going to be battle-tested. They're going to have the resiliency. And more importantly, more than any of that, they are going to have the star power. They are going to have the raw talent. They're going to have guys like Francisco Lindor, like Juan Soto, like Mark Vientos, who looks like he's about to break out or is in the midst of a breakout. Those guys are going to be there taking those at-bats in that key spot. And as David just said, good teams find ways to win. And so you know what? You take it. I don't care that it was Huascar Brazaman giving it up in the top of the ninth. We can talk about the bullpen. Guys aren't going to be perfect. Guys are not going to go through the entire season with 0.0 ERAs. Just not going to happen. I would love Huascar Brazoban to get that save in that spot, save the bullpen a little bit, but Francisco Lindor made sure we didn't get the extra innings and didn't have to deal with any of that. I want to make this the turning point, and mainly because I want to shout him out because I think the role that he played tonight was really, really important. So we'll talk about Max Kranick in the Mets bullpen.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
David Peterson gave the Mets a solid 5 and 1/3 innings pitched, 7 hits to 3 earned runs, no walks, and 9 strikeouts. How about this? Remember last year, the complaints all the time about the Mets and their bullpen or in their rotation and their pitching in general, giving up a ton of walks. How about 15 strikeouts and 0 walks tonight? 15 strikeouts, 0 walks. You'll take that. The command was a problem last year, got the Mets into a lot of trouble. Credit where credit is due. They have really done a nice job, especially tonight, 15 strikeouts and 0 walks. Max Kranick just continues to make a name for himself as a Mets fan, lifelong Mets fan, having this opportunity to pitch for the team he grew up for. What an awesome moment for him. His season ERA down to 1.35. I joked with a buddy because he was the guy that got sent down the other day because of all the moves that they had to make. I said, why'd they send this guy down? He's excellent. He's pitching great. Why'd they send him down the other day? It was tongue in cheek. I understood why they did that. But an inning and 2/3, no hits, no earned runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. And his ability to kind of keep things right where they were, to keep things at 3 runs, to give the Mets a chance to battle back was huge. And that's what allowed the Mets to come into this game. Stanek was good as well. His 1 inning. The Mets bullpen in general has just been fantastic this season. And so that's why when Brazoban gives up the home run, you can say maybe Brazoban made a mistake with that pitch, that change up middle. Yeah. But at the same time, I think you just tip your cap to Brandon Donovan, a guy who's hitting .380 this season and is one of the best hitters through the first 20 games of the season in the National League. You just tip your cap and say, I threw a mistake. You crushed that mistake. It's exactly what Francisco Lindor did in the bottom part of the inning. The player of the game, you know who it's going to be. We'll give it to Francisco Lindor. It was only a 1-for-5 night, but it was the one that mattered in a big way for the New York Mets, a home run. He's hitting .263 now so far through the first 20 games of the season. I don't have all of the numbers directly in front of me, but just off of vibes, just off of feels, it feels like that's more than he's been hitting the last couple of years through the middle of April, right? Doesn't it just feel like last April, the April before that, he was hitting close to the interstate. He was hitting maybe barely above 200. He wasn't hitting 263 and having these key moments. Again, that's just a feel thing. I don't have the numbers in front of me to prove that, but it just feels differently. And I loved his reaction to the walk-off, just kind of a very cold stare back into his own dugout of like, yeah, I'm that dude. I just did that. The Mets had their second walk-off win of the season. And yeah, it was just a really, really awesome night. And again, the Mets battled back, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th, and then the walk-off hit in the 9th, a home run for their second win of the season. We shouted out Mark Vientos, 2 for 4. He is the home run that he hit. I mean, it's a ball up near his neck, and he just quick hands turned on it, and that's just strength. That was special to see him turn on that ball with 2 strikes to go up and get it and elevate the bat and take care of business. He's starting to hit. Brett Beatty, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say that I thought it was a mistake after the job that Acuna had done the last couple of days that he got the starts. Hits, drawing walks, stealing bases, just being a menace on the base paths. I thought it was a mistake to go back to Brett Beatty, but credit where credit is due to Carlos Mendoza. He feels like he's pushing the right buttons here because Beatty over the last couple of days has contributed with some big hits. Beatty had a hit tonight, drew a walk, stole a base. Shout out Brett Beatty stealing a base in this one. And the Mets had, how about this? I don't know how often a team does this, but 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 home runs. You had Luis Torrens and Brett Beatty with the doubles. You had Tyrone Taylor and Pete Alonso with the triples. And then you had Lindor and Vientos with home runs. So 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 home runs, and nobody overlapped. Nobody overlapped doubles, triples, home runs. So shout out to all 6 of those guys for getting involved. And I've seen a couple of you in the chat talk about how the bats really feel like they are starting to break out a little bit, that they are maybe turning a corner, starting to wake up. Robert, I see you in the chat saying that the bats look like they're starting to wake up. Yeah, it certainly does feel that way. And Julian says, I'm going to be honest, I knew one of them would come through here, if not Lindor, then Soto, and if not them both, then Alonso. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you build a team this way that has these types of guys at the top of the lineup. They could be 0 for their last 100, And in that spot, you know who they are. You know it's Francisco Lindor. You know that it's Juan Soto. You know that it's Pete Alonso. You're going to have a belief that they are going to just come through in that spot. And it's awesome. The bullpen was great tonight. I thought David Peterson pitched okay. I don't think he was terrible. He didn't walk anybody, which is certainly his issue most of the time. That extends innings for him. But 5+ innings, 3 runs, you'll take that. It gives you a chance to win a baseball game. And that's exactly what the Mets did tonight as they get to 13-7. And yes, they remain in first place in the National League East. They will be back in action tomorrow. We will be back here on the Mets Postcast to break it all down. It is Kodai Senga taking the bump for the New York Mets as they will look to win this series. After losing the last series to Minnesota, they will try to battle back and win this one and turn their 2-game winning streak into a 3-game winning streak. And they will send Kodai Senga, who is coming off of an excellent start his last time out against the A's, the 7 innings of just dominant baseball, where he wasn't striking guys out left and right, but he was dominant through 7 innings. And if the Mets weren't taking it careful with him, he could have very easily gone deeper into that game. So that's who the Mets will be throwing on the mound tomorrow to try to make it 3 in a row and to lock this series up. It is a walk-off win for the New York Mets, their second walk-off of the season. It is Francisco Lindor with his 3rd career walk-off home run, his 250th home run of his career. And it sends the Mets fans home happy at Citi Field as they beat the Cardinals 5-4. That's going to do it for us here on the Mets Postcast. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe, you turn on that notification bell, and you join us after each and every Mets game. We are here to break it all down, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We break it all down and recap it all. And it was a very good night for the New York Mets as they defeat the Cardinals 5-4. So that's it for us. We are back tomorrow to recap Kodai Senga's start. And if the Mets can get back into the win column for the 3rd straight day, and if they can take this series from the Cardinals. Have a good night, everybody.